There are two boxes sitting in your grocery store right now that look almost exactly alike. Same brand, usually. Same orange on the front. Names one word apart. One of them lives in the baking aisle next to the flour, and every single person in America knows what it is. The other one lives in the laundry aisle next to the detergent. And I would bet money you have walked past it 100 times without ever once reading the front of that box. 2 aisles apart. That is the whole distance. And that gap between the 2 aisles is the entire difference between a drain that runs clear tomorrow morning and a drain that keeps making that same slow gurgle it has been making since spring. Because the famous box, the one you already tried, the one every video on the internet tells you to dump down there with a cup of vinegar so it foams up like a 4th grade science project, cannot do the job. Not because it is fake, because it is too weak. Weak by a factor of about 1,000. And I am going to show you exactly where that number comes from. Because once you see it, you will never confuse the two again. The other box costs about the same, $5, give or take, depending on where you shop. It will clear a slow drain overnight while you are asleep, and one treatment runs you somewhere between 50 cents and $1. Stay with me to the end, because I am also going to tell you the one job in your house where the famous box beats the other one outright. You have got that job right now. You just have not connected the two yet. Now, before I tell you what to pour, I want you to understand what you are actually pouring it on. Because if you get this part wrong, you will use the right product on the wrong problem and blame the product. When you picture a slow drain, you probably picture a plug. Some wad of something sitting in the pipe like a cork in a bottle, and the job is to punch through the cork. That is almost never what is happening. What is actually happening in a slow kitchen drain is coating. Every time you rinse a pan, warm grease goes down that pipe as a liquid. 20 feet later, it has cooled off, and grease does what grease does when it cools. It sets. Think about the wax that runs down the side of a candle. Going down it is liquid, and it looks like it is going somewhere. A second later, it is a hard ridge stuck to the side, and no amount of tilting the candle is going to move it. Now do that 3 times a day for 4 years. Add soap scum from the dish side, which is its own sticky film, and add biofilm, which is just a slick layer of bacteria that grows on anything wet and stays there. Layer after layer, each one a little rougher than the last, and each one better at catching the next thing that comes down. That pipe has been getting narrower for years. It is the same thing that happens to an artery, and it happens just as quietly, which is why snaking a slow drain so often disappoints people. A snake punches a channel through the middle and pulls out whatever is loose, but it does almost nothing to the coating welded onto the pipe wall. That is why the drain runs great for 2 weeks and then goes right back to gurgling. You paid somebody to drill a hole through a problem that needed dissolving. So that is your enemy. A greasy, soapy film bonded to the inside wall of the pipe. Hold on to that, because everything from here follows from it. All right, 2 powders. The famous one is sodium bicarbonate, that is baking soda. The other one is sodium carbonate, and it is sold as washing soda, sometimes labeled soda ash. Now here is the part that makes people think they are interchangeable. They are chemically related. Take baking soda and heat it up, and it gives off carbon dioxide and water and turns into washing soda. That is it. That is the whole relationship. One heating step apart. But that one step changes what the stuff can do so completely that treating them as substitutes is like treating a lukewarm bath and a pot of coffee as the same temperature. Here is the number I promised you. Dissolve baking soda in water and you get a solution with a pH of about 8. Dissolve washing soda in water and you get a pH of about 11. 3 points apart, which sounds like nothing. It is not nothing, because the pH scale does not count the way a ruler counts. Every single step on that scale is 10 times the last one. So 1 step is 10, 2 steps is 100, 3 steps is 1,000. Washing soda in solution is roughly 1,000 times further along the alkaline scale than baking soda is. Same family. Different animal entirely. And alkalinity is exactly what you need because of what high pH does to fat. It is called saponification, and that word is worth 10 seconds of your time. Sapo is Latin for soap. Saponification means turning fat into soap. A strong enough alkali hitting that grease film does not scrub it or scrape it. It chemically converts it into something soapy and water-soluble, and then plain water carries it away. That is not a metaphor. That is genuinely how soap has been made for a couple of 1,000 years, and it is happening on your pipe wall. There's a second thing nobody mentions, and honestly, it might matter more. Washing soda dissolves into water roughly 3 times more readily than baking soda does. 3 times. Which means when you mix your treatment, the washing soda actually goes into solution and stays there, ready to work on the pipe wall. A lot of the baking soda you pour down there never dissolves at all. It sinks, it sits, and it rides out with the next rinse having done nothing. Which brings us to the vinegar volcano, and I want to be careful here, because that trick is not useless. It is just wildly oversold. When you pour baking soda down and chase it with vinegar, you get that satisfying foam. What you are watching is an acid and a base neutralizing each other. The fizz is carbon dioxide gas. It is a real reaction, and it does agitate loose debris near the top of the drain. But when it finishes, you are left with salty water. Both ingredients spent themselves canceling each other out, and neither one is left over to work on your grease. You had a mild alkali. You threw acid on it. Now you have neither. That foam is doing its best work on camera. Now, you might be thinking that if 1,000 times stronger is better, you should just go buy the strongest thing on the shelf. Hold that thought, because I am going to come back to it, and the answer is not what you would guess. Before I hand you the method, you ought to know where it comes from. None of this is mine. It is old trade knowledge, the kind that got passed hand to hand on job sites and printed in manuals nobody reprints, and it deserved writing down before it disappeared. That is the book. 100 old house fixes that save you thousands. 100 of them, laid out the way I laid this one out, with the reason sitting underneath the instruction. A good stretch is about the service calls you never needed to make. And there is a whole run on catching a small leak before it reaches your floor and your cabinets. If you want it, the link is in the description below. Tap the title, then tap the link. Or point your phone camera at the code on the screen, and it opens the same page. No rush on any of it, so finish watching first. All right, here's the method. Step 1, and people skip this constantly. Get the sink empty and as dry as you can. If there's standing water in that basin, bail it out with a cup. I will explain why in a minute. Water sitting in the drain is the enemy of this whole operation. Step 2. 1 cup of washing soda into 3 cups of hot water, the hottest your tap runs. Not boiling, and I will get to why that matters. Stir it until the powder is gone. Actually gone. If you can see grits swirling at the bottom, keep stirring, because whatever does not dissolve is not going to work. Step 3, and this one is about aim. Pour it slow, not in one fast dump. Take 20 or 30 seconds and let it go down in a steady stream, because a slow pour keeps the solution against the pipe wall instead of shooting down the middle like water off a roof. Step 4, and this is the entire trick. Walk away. Do not chase it with water. Do not run the tap to see if it worked, and do not run the dishwasher. If that sink shares a line with anything else, leave that alone too. This is why you do it at bedtime. You need the house asleep. Step 5, next morning. Run hot tap water down there for 2 or 3 minutes. That flush is a delivery truck, hauling out everything that let go overnight. Now, why the overnight part is not optional? Because this is where every 15-minute product on the drain shelf falls down. Chemistry needs 3 things: concentration, temperature, and time. You set concentration when you mix it, and you get a little temperature from the hot water, though that fades fast. Time is the one you have in unlimited supply, and it costs you nothing. 6 to 8 hours of solution sitting motionless against that grease film is a different category of result than 15 minutes. Every hour, a little more of that coating converts and lets go, and nobody is running water past it to wash it away. That is also why step 1 matters so much. Pour your solution into a sink with standing water, and you have diluted it before it ever reaches the grease. Same powder. Weaker solution, less work done. Time is the active ingredient. The powder is just how you spend it. Now, about that title. The title of this video says, Any Slow Drain, and I am not going to let that stand without qualifying it. There are drains this will not touch, and I would rather you hear it from me than find out at 11 at night. Here is what washing soda genuinely clears: grease, soap scum, biofilm, and food residue gone soft and greasy. That covers the enormous majority of slow kitchen sinks, bathroom sinks, and tub drains in older houses, because those are film problems, and film is what alkali eats. Here is what it will not touch. It will not clear a hair clog. Hair is keratin, the same protein your fingernails are made of. And breaking it down takes a far more aggressive alkali than this. If your shower keeps getting slower and there's long hair in the house, this is the wrong tool. A $3 plastic barb drain tool pulled up through the strainer will do more in 90 seconds than any chemical. It will not dissolve mineral scale. This one gets stated backwards all over the internet, so let me be plain. Lime scale is a mineral deposit, and minerals get dissolved by acid, not by alkali. Washing soda does help keep new scale from forming, because it grabs the calcium and magnesium in hard water so they cannot deposit. That is prevention, not removal. Crusty white buildup is a vinegar job and a different video. It will not do anything about tree roots, a toy in the trap, or a collapsed pipe. And the big one. If your drain is fully stopped with water standing in the sink, this is not your fix and not because the chemistry is wrong. You cannot deliver it. Your solution sits on a column of dirty water and dilutes itself into nothing. Get the water out first or go mechanical. Now the cautions, and none of these are me covering myself. Every one is something I have watched go wrong. Wear gloves. At a pH of 11, that powder will dry out and irritate skin. And the manufacturer prints eye irritant right on the carton. Keep it off your face when you mix, and if it gets on you, rinse it off. This next one matters more than the rest, so listen closely. Never put washing soda down, a drain that has had a commercial chemical opener in it. Not that day, not that week. Those products are either strong lye or strong acid. And if there is acid sitting in your trap and you pour a strong alkali on top of it, you get a violent neutralization reaction. It throws off heat fast, and it can push scalding liquid back up out of the drain and into your face. Leftover residue is enough to do it. So the rule is simple. If you already poured something from the drain aisle down there and it did not work, do not add anything else on top of it. That drain needs a person with a snake and a bucket. Hot water, not boiling. PVC drain pipe starts softening around 140 degrees, and boiling water is 212. Pour that into a plastic trap repeatedly, and you will deform a joint and buy a leak under the cabinet that costs far more than the clog did. Porcelain has its own problem, thermal shock, where boiling water hitting a cold fixture can crack it. Hot tap water sits under that line, and it is plenty because you are not melting the grease. You are converting it. If you are on a septic system, you are fine. The label says septic safe and means it, because unlike bleach or lye, this is not sterilizing your tank. Just do not treat every drain in a house on the same night, and do not park it on aluminum, because a strong alkaline solution will dull and pit it. All right? Prevention, which is where the actual money is. Once your drain is running right, do a half cup in the same 3 cups of hot water once a month at bedtime. Same routine, half the dose. You are not clearing anything at that point. You are stripping the film off before it gets thick enough to matter. Do the math with me. That box holds about 7 full cup treatments. So at monthly half doses, you get well over a year out of a $5 box. Call it 40 cents a month. Having a plumber clear a simple sink drain runs somewhere between $150 and $350 in most of the country right now, and more on a weekend. There is no money in prevention. And I want to be fair about why. It is not a conspiracy. It is arithmetic. Nobody builds a business selling a 40-cent monthly habit, so nobody advertises it. The advertising follows the margin, and the margin is in the emergency. 2 habits go with the monthly treatment, and it is barely a fix without them. Keep a jar under the sink. Bacon grease, pan drippings, the oil off a roasting tray, all of it goes in the jar, and the jar goes in the trash. Hot water does not help. It just carries the grease further down the line before it sets. And put a basket strainer in the kitchen sink. A few dollars, and it stops the food solids that give grease something to grab. Let me run through the questions I know you are going to have. It has been 2 days, and it is still slow. Run it again. 1 round strips the outer layers without always reaching the pipe wall, and 2 rounds on consecutive nights is normal on a drain that has been slow for a year. If 3 nights does nothing, you do not have a grease problem, so go back over that list. It worked, and then came back in 3 weeks. That drain was further gone than you thought, and it tells you the monthly habit is not optional in your house. Both sides of my double sink are slow. Then the problem is downstream of where the 2 sides meet, so treat both sides and give them the whole night. If one side has a garbage disposal, treat it the same. Just make sure the disposal is off. and stays off. The drain smells, but the speed is fine. Then you may not have a grease problem at all. Odor with normal flow usually means biofilm near the top of the pipe or dry trap, and that is a much easier fix. Now, let me pay off what I promised at the start, because I have spent this whole video telling you what baking soda cannot do, and that is half an honest answer. Baking soda is misassigned. It got handed a job it was never built for by people who saw the foam and assumed the foam meant work, and it has been carrying that reputation ever since. Here is what it is genuinely better at than washing soda. Odor. Baking soda is a very good deodorizer, and that is not marketing. Being mild and sitting near the middle of the pH range is what lets it neutralize both acidic and alkaline odor compounds, which is why it works in a refrigerator. Washing soda is far too caustic for that, and scouring. That same mildness makes it a gentle abrasive. It will scrub a stainless sink, a porcelain basin, or a glass cooktop without scratching any of them. Washing soda would be a bad idea on most of those. So here is your assignment, and this is the job you have got right now. Tonight, when you pour the washing soda down the drain, take the baking soda the other direction with it. Sprinkle a couple of tablespoons around the sink basin and the rubber splash guard on your disposal, and scrub it with a damp sponge. That flap and the underside of the strainer are where nearly all kitchen sink smell actually lives, and neither one ever gets cleaned. Rinse it in the morning with the same hot flush. One powder handles the inside of the pipe, the other handles the part you can see and smell. Both boxes, $5 total, each finally doing the job it was built for. So that is the whole thing. 2 powders, 1 word apart on the label, 2 aisles apart in the store, and knowing which is the difference between fixing your drain tonight and standing over that same sink next month. That is what the book is for. It is called 100 Old House Fixes That Save You Thousands. And a big piece of it is telling a real repair from a patch that buys you a few weeks, plus the room-by-room checklists and the seasonal calendar so you catch things on your schedule instead of somebody else's. The link is in the description, or point your camera at the code on the screen. And if this was useful, subscribe to Roger the Pipe Guy, because that is what I do here. Old house fixes that keep your money in your pocket. Go pour it. I will see you next time.